So what's your position on the God question?
So I am a theist, and it is important to note that I was brought up a theist. I was born in faith, basically. I was brought up an Oriental Orthodox. Over time, I lost my faith a bit, then regained it back, but I tried to go more academic with it, read some critical scholars, try to be less biased in research, try to avoid traditional apologetics. And that brought me to be more of a liberal, non-denom Christian. Then I discovered Jay Dyer, and it all went downhill. I was like, hey, this tag thing does sound interesting. Hey, maybe scholars are actually wrong about it. But, after studying the argument, I just cannot bring myself to be convinced by it, even though it does sound...
That's the dumbest shit. Do you know what a sound argument is?
Well, it is something that is validly composed, I think, logically working. That's probably a bad definition.
So a sound argument is both valid in that it's truth-preserving, or in simple terms, has a good structure, and is the premises are true. So the premises are true, and it holds it's truth-preserving. So if the premises are true, you're going to know the conclusion follows. And this would be for a deductive argument, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Can I show you a video to at least get you off of Jay Dyer for the start of this?
Well, again, I'm not necessarily on Jay Dyer, but yes, sure.
Okay, let me just show you where Jay Dyer is at. Give me a second.
Got it.
The title of this video is Jay Dum Dum.
What does valid mean? What does valid mean?
Z is the necessary condition
what does valid mean?
A, therefore Z. It means it's sound. It means it's a sound argument.
What does valid mean? What does valid mean?
Z is the necessary condition
what does valid mean?
A, therefore Z. It means it's sound. It means it's a sound argument.
What does valid mean? What does valid mean?
Z is the necessary condition
what does valid mean?
A, therefore Z. It means it's sound.
Do you see the problem?
Yes, just because argument is logically sound, it's not necessarily true.
Well, no. Jay Dyer is saying that a sound argument is valid, or a valid argument is sound.
Oh, so the word means the same thing both
Listen to
times?
what he's saying again.
It means it's a sound argument.
What does valid mean? What does valid mean?
Z is the necessary condition
what does valid mean?
A, therefore Z. It means it's sound.
So the question is, what does valid mean?
It means it's a sound argument.
What do you think about that?
I don't think he really explained what does valid mean. He just said, well, it's sound.
Exactly. He doesn't know what valid or sound means. I know you're not necessarily convinced by tag, but I'm just letting you know this is the level of philosophical acumen that proponents of tag have.
Fair. But what about the argument itself?
If knowledge, then the universal quantum field. We have knowledge, so the universal quantum field. If we have trees, then the universal quantum field. We have trees, therefore the universal quantum field.
Should you not be able to flesh it out more?
Well, tag is just if knowledge, then God. If knowledge, therefore God.
Well, I see the logic, therefore God version more, but nevertheless, usually they can flesh out how do you get from logic to God. They don't really just posit the syllogism.
No, they can't actually flesh it out. So, do you accept evolution and abiogenesis and the Big Bang, or do we need to argue over that stuff?
No, I accept it all, pretty much.
You actually accept it, you're not accepting it for the purposes of conversation, right?
No, I actually accept it.
Okay, cool. So you have a tree, right? What's
Yes.
it take to get to a tree?
Well, whatever is tree made out of, the conditions of the nature, so the tree could grow.
Right. Billions of years of a planet evolving, right? The atmosphere changing, the life forming through abiogenesis, and then evolution, and stuff dying in the soil changing from plate tectonics, right? Or
Mhm.
the land changing from plate tectonics, the dead things being broken down by microorganisms, and the nutrients released into the soil, multiple stages of other life on land before them, atmosphere that's totally different now, that's necessary for them, that they wouldn't have when they wouldn't have survived in a different environment, right?
Yeah.
like it's evolved to this point, right? This is the best fit for this environment, and it's how it regulates this environment, right? But excuse me. But with that, you go back, right? So then you get to rewind, you get to space ping pong, right? There's stars exploding, like rewind back to like stars exploding, space ping pong, right? Rewind to like Big Bang. Like we're at the same point, right? So far, right?
Mhm. Sure.
So universal quantum field is the fundamental substrate, the necessary being. It's the fundamental state, right? So that's the cause. And so quantum fluctuation to the Big Bang, right? So that's the causal link between the necessary being and a tree, right? And so that's every step of that to that tree, right? And so if we have trees, then the universal quantum tree, the universal quantum tree, no, the universal quantum field, we have trees, therefore the universal quantum field.
Okay. Sounds reasonable.
Welcome to atheism, brother.
Okay, yeah, I see the point. So with the quantum field, again, you posit that a quantum fluctuation led to this huge chain of things, and well, hypothetically here it finishes at a tree forming. Is this not like a huge leap of faith to say that the entire process is purely random and meaningless?
It's not random or meaningless. I mean, I guess is there a word that would, so like meaningless is more of like absent of meaning in like a living thing, right? Applying meaningless to a tree doesn't make sense to, because it doesn't have the cognitive capabilities to have meaning, right? If there's no, if you can't have both ends of that, then like is a tree a nihilist? Is that what you're saying? No, you're not saying that, right? And so
I meant, yeah.
And so it's survival and evolution driven, right? It's what survives in the environment and modifies the environment, right? This is the best fit for the environment right now. And what was the other question? I apologize. You asked two questions there.
Well, I said that we would have to grant that the process is both random and meaningless. And to clarify,
there's no randomness. I mean, maybe at like the fundamental level with quantum fluctuations, but
exactly.
at this scale, there's not randomness. It's all thermodynamic. If we had a theory of everything, we could literally calculate what planets have life. Because it would be calculating everything from the fundamental level, the quantum physics, through the phase changes to where we're at, to like breaking into the different fields and the like the weak force and the strong force. I'm sorry, the forces, but like the weak force and the strong force and so on. But if we would be able to trace that, and we could literally do that for everything in the universe and create like an exact replica of the universe, and like know where be able to pinpoint where the life is just through thermodynamic math.
So to clarify on the original, well, sort of objection, when I said meaningless, I meant more, not that the tree has a meaning to feed the squirrels, no. I meant that there's no intentionality behind the process. It just goes because it does.
Yeah, there's no intentionality.
Yeah. And about the random, the fluctuation itself, because we're operating at such a fundamental level, it wouldn't be like classical physics at that point. It would be undetermined.
Quantum physics.
Yeah. So it would be random.
Not necessarily. It's still guided by the field dynamics. Like there's only going to be a limited number of possible worlds based on the field dynamics. It's not like there's infinite worlds. I mean, there could potentially be like infinite worlds from it all at the same time, not because it's not affected by space-time in the same way, but that doesn't matter. It would be like repeats and stuff, right? There wouldn't be like every single thing possible, right? There would absolutely be repeats. I'm not saying that's the case. This could be the only universe, or there could be infinite other space-time bubbles happening at the exact same time, but no time. So, and it's all the same stuff. So it's just being recycled, right? So once the space-time bubble pops, or even if it doesn't matter, there's no real time, right? Besides what we have in our bubble, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it depends how you define time. Usually, I think today, most of the time like necessitates space.
Yeah, it's space-time.
Yeah, they go together.
It's the geometry of the universe.
So the part where I think you're making perhaps a bit of a leap of faith, if that's the correct term to apply here, is when you say that we get to all this level of sophistication and, I don't know, world building from a non-intentional quantum fluctuation that is just very fundamentally simple, but it leads to those massive, huge effect to the point of consciousness arising. And I cannot believe that this, terrific process is just there, accident. Doesn't mean anything.
So I think we need to address the necessary being theology then.
Sure.
So you claim the necessary being too, right?
Yeah, I'd have to.
So you have to claim my necessary being to have a world.
I'm sorry, once again, I would have to claim your necessary being too.
Correct.
And your necessary being is quantum quantum field, right?
The universal quantum field, the fundamental substrate, the initial state.
Yes, problem that I see is that your your necessary being has no intentionality.
What you're
not
saying
personal.
is, though, that your necessary being has a mind.
Yes, I would say that.
So first off, that means that it's contingent and can't be a necessary being. Another issue that would arise, you could still claim a brute fact or infinite regress of gods. It's just you can't claim that with a necessary being because it would be contingent with the mind. But on top of that, you would deal with the redundancy issue because the universal quantum field exists by its own nature. It is required for any possible world, so it would have to exist in all possible worlds, and it fully explains all that exists. So even if you add on a god, you're only adding on another explanation, right? So this thing that exists already fully explains all that exists. And so that's the termination of the explanation. But what you're doing is you're saying there's another layer below that just explains this one thing that exists by its own nature. But by the way, this thing exists by its own nature. And so you encounter a redundancy issue because there's two necessary beings, right? And so you're going to have one explain the other, right? Mm-hmm. But that's much less parsimonious, and it is also unnecessary because this thing already exists by its own nature and explains, because you're just trying to say this explains that, but this thing already exists. We already know they're fundamental. The science says they're fundamental.
Right.
So if you claim it, you're going to have to claim it alongside it. Like the Jewish mythology where there was a primordial substrate alongside the God, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the Jewish story of what happened. But that issue with that arises because it can't explain that, right? It would have to like shape it, right? I mean, you could say that, but you could say that it exists and it created that, the quantum field, but then you encounter the redundancy issue and it's immediately unnecessary, right? But you also encounter the redundancy issue if it exists alongside it. And like the Jewish mythology, where it, I don't know how do you explain that? Transform the fundamental essence or whatever, right?
Right.
But you have the same, well, it's slightly different redundancy issue, right? Because you would already have something that fully explains everything, right? Like the models all point to some type of fundamentality, right?
Mhm.
So there's also a potential infinite regress, because if you just say that I can do a God with a mind, I go, okay, God with a mind, or no mind even, was the cause of that because it's more parsimonious or whatever. And we could do an infinite regress of God claims.
So first thing here, you mentioned that God having a mind, or any like eternal mind existing, would make the being dependent. Could you flesh that out?
Yeah, because it could be otherwise. Because we already know that a quantum field can fully explain everything that exists without a mind.
I mean, yeah, it could be otherwise. It's not logically impossible for it to be otherwise. But if it is the
And that
case,
would mean
what would make it?
Well, that would make it unnecessary. Necessary means it has to exist in all possible worlds. You're saying that there's a possible world in which there could be a God with no mind, which means that your God is not necessary.
Wait, would that be calling the quantum field God? The God with no mind?
You could, if you wanted. That would be pantheism. That'd be weird, but it's just the essence, right?
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is, hypothetically, if God with a mind were to exist actually previous to the quantum field, how would he be contingent?
Well, if it has a mind, it would be contingent because it has a mind. And if it existed prior to the quantum field and explained the quantum field, it would be redundant because the quantum field fully explains all that exists, and we already know they're fundamentals, so they already explain themselves. But like I said, we already know they exist by their own nature. They're the fundamental things. And so we would have to, like, you would have to claim like the Jewish mythology thing probably. But then other issues arise, right?
Mhm. So speaking of the quantum field, do we really know? And if we do, how do we know that it is like the very fundament of reality and there's nothing that can be or is past it?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Well, you say that we know that quantum field is this most fundamental like piece of reality that is there. How do we know that? How do we know that there's nothing
Quantum field
shaping
theory.
it or past it?
Yeah, quantum field theory.
I mean, yeah, it would be a theory, though. But how, like, could we really claim knowledge?
Yeah. It's a justified true belief. Quantum field theory is describing the fundamental stuff. It's descriptive. It's describing something that exists.
Yeah.
The Higgs boson is the God particle.
Go by the that field is the fundamental thing of reality, and
What?
we know today is stemming from that quantum field. Sorry?
Correct.
Yeah, and everything that is today is stemming from that field.
I know it's
Would
not
that not
a
lead us-
satisfying answer if you want meaning and purpose behind stuff. But there's plenty of meaning and purpose that arises from us, right? You have evolutionary drives.
That would be a separate point that I would love to discuss first. Would that not lead us to claim that personal can come from impersonal? somehow.
Yeah. I don't know if no mind is considered impersonal, though.
Oh
Would
no.
impersonal be something you apply to agents?
Quote.
I guess we got a deconversion. Does that mean I won? Audience? What just happened? Oh, he said his phone died. Okay. Maybe he'll come back. That was a good conversation, though. Hopefully he understood some of what I was saying there. Let me get everybody pulled back up.
Good job, Taco.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to join in, feel free to join in. Oh, Lupin, come hang out, dude. I'd love to see you up here, Lupin. What's up, buddy? I'm putting a link in chat real fast. Let me get this image back up. Sorry about that. I changed everything around for the bloodbath. Jace, Synthetic, you're a theist, you said?
Hello.
Oh, hang on. Teodoro came back. Sorry about that.
Hello?
Hey.
Yeah, my phone died. I terribly apologize. That was pretty
No
bad.
worries. Let me get the bloodbath thing back up real fast.
All right. Yeah, sorry.
You like
about
my
that.
bloodbath imagery? It's pretty great, right?
I like all of your AI imagery. I think it's really funny.
Thank you. I'm surprised people think it's AI though in this one, because it's obviously me running around in a bikini.
Do you actually look like that?
The world may never know.
Fair enough.
So where were we?
God. Oh yeah. If we were to say that the cause of everything in reality is this fundamental idea that is the quantum field, would that not lead us to say that personal comes from impersonal? And how would that be
Does
possible?
impersonal only apply to agents? There's not a person there. I don't know. What do you mean by impersonal?
Well, personal would be only applying to conscious agents. Impersonal would be applying to all the inanimate stuff.
I guess it's an unconscious thing. It's not even unconscious. It's just stuff. It's the essence, right?
Yeah, and I really can't grasp the means by which we would arrive at a mind, a consciousness from that quantum field.
Evolution, thermodynamic processes, emergent properties, gravity, other physical stuff. Lots of physical processes stacked up on top of each other.
Sure, but what I'm really getting at is, why is it at all possible that an unconscious physical process develops into this immaterial consciousness thing? Like, we're just stacking up a bunch of physical deterministic processes together, and we are getting this incredibly unique thing called a mind. Why?
The laws of thermodynamics.
How do laws of thermodynamics explain that?
This is how this stuff organizes, right? This is entropy at work.
I mean, sure, we could describe what the brain is, and from that we could infer that mind is caused by this combination of atoms. But what is like special about this combination of a bunch of matter that generates consciousness?
There's nothing special about it. It's just the emergent properties that arise. This stuff works like this, and consciousness arises. What's so special about how how like a country arises, right? Like a government for a country, right?
Mhm.
That's an emergent property. Is there anything special about that? What's so special about the Polo Club, right? Or what's so special about a car moving, right? The emergent property of movement and the car from the parts working together, right?
Well,
What's so special about Moon's orbit, right? Like,
well, what I would say special, what I would say is special is immaterial coming forth from material.
well, you think it's special that it went from essence to matter?
No, I think the other way is special, the way you're describing it, that a bunch of matter comes together in a combination, and this combination allows for consciousness, something immaterial, something that cannot be
It's
found.
just fields and neurons and shit, dude.
Well, all of those are material things, and they combine in a particular way, and they create something immaterial. That is what
They
I'm.
weren't always minds, though, and they weren't always like this. Like, if you look back at, you accepted evolution.
Yeah.
If you look back at the evolutionary record, you can see minds evolving very slowly over time.
You mean like their capability to create stuff? We got more intelligent.
Single cells didn't have brains.
Yeah, sure. But at some point, we get
Dinosaur brains were way different than human brains, right?
Yeah, of course.
Lizard brains are way different than human brains, right? But it all evolved very slowly over time.
So would you say that at some point, this maybe a very fundamental, like very simple, but at some point this immaterial mind appeared in the process of evolution?
It's not, that's a presupposition.
No, that's a question.
No, the immaterial mind part is a presupposition.
You don't
I'm an identity theorist.
You don't think that consciousness is immaterial?
No. I think immaterial is unnecessary and bloated ontology.
Well, where would you find your, like, if you imagine any picture, where would you find that picture in your brain, in the neurons? It doesn't
It
exist.
doesn't matter. It doesn't, well, I mean, they can literally take a computer and like record the waves and put together the picture, put together what you're seeing. Soon they'll probably be able to make videos with that type of stuff. Neuralink works directly with field theories of consciousness. It doesn't matter if it's neurons or field or combination both, right? And by like field, I mean like electromagnetic field or whatever it is going on in your brain. I don't know all the neurobiology, right? But it doesn't matter. It's just physical processes.
So when you bring up the computer example, that would lead you to say that
Karen Dave is saying that it's encoded in neuronal structure. And in fact, we can recover people visualizing images via fMRI.
So just to clarify on this, we could like see the image that a person is imagining by analyzing the process in their brain?
That's correct. You got to use computers, and it's very complicated. I'm an idiot. I'm just an idiot. But Karen Dave could explain it. But it doesn't matter. You can do that. Yes.
Yeah. So you brought up the computer example, comparing it to the human mind, and the thing about that example is
I didn't compare a computer to a human mind. They're not the same.
Well, what was the reason you brought it up?
Oh, that they can read your, like if you're thinking of a chair, and you're visualizing a chair, they can use a computer to present you that image. They can read your brain.
Right. But that wouldn't really mean that the image that I'm seeing is like physically found. It can be excavated by the means of like analyzing the process.
Well, there's not actually a chair there.
There's not actually a chair.
No. So what you're thinking is you're thinking there's like some abstract realm of stuff
Not
that's
necessarily.
causally disconnect. Well, where would you think it would exist then?
I think this realm, again, quote unquote, realm of our consciousness would tie in and coexist with physical realm. So those two are together. They're like.
So how would the immaterial interact with the material? So, oh my God, there's so many problems with that. So,
Well, directly.
you're like your brain structure somehow links. So like it all starts in the brain, right? So when you're doing this stuff, you're saying that it's like shooting, unless you're saying it's a reverse and there's like we're a pilot operating around the brain, but that would like contradict what the science suggests. What type of dualist are you?
I would say that it's sort of both. What happens to us in the physical, in purely physical realm, what happens to our body would influence our consciousness. And then whatever we are thinking, quote unquote, in our consciousness could also manipulate our body and therefore reality, like physical
Can
reality.
you do an exercise for me?
Sure.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
Open your eyes. Close
Alright.
your eyes.
Okay.
Open your eyes.
Right.
Now look down
Mhm.
and look up
Okay.
and look at your arms.
Right.
Where do you feel like all of this is happening?
Well, the picture that I'm seeing is reflective of like the physical, like
So
outside world.
subjectively, do you feel like you're in your head? Your consciousness is localized to your head, or do you feel like your consciousness extends out throughout your body?
I think that my consciousness is sort of centralized in my head, but it is like I can know with my eyes closed where my hand is.
Right.
I think
So
it
what
is
is the important organ in your head that might be causing that?
the brain, but I'm not denying that consciousness is caused by physical. I'm denying that
So
consciousness is physical.
what I'm saying is, what I'm getting at is, so do you have any examples of anything else that you think might be non-physical ever?
I mean, we can go into the laws of logic thing, but I'll definitely embarrass myself there, so probably not.
Right. And laws of logic are, so do you think that the laws, this is interesting, do you think that the laws of logic are prescriptive to the universe and govern how it works?
I think that you can say that universe abides, quote unquote, by the laws of logic, and then you can say that laws of logic are just derived from the way universe is. And both of those statements are sort of unfalsifiable, in my opinion, because both of
So
them.
what do you think about the fact that they think that they know logic doesn't apply, like classic logic specifically doesn't apply to the universe and the sciences in the way that you want it to, and that they think it might be some type of quantum or fuzzy logic?
I'm pretty sure quantum or like fuzzy logic is still derived from classical logic, but again, I'm pretty clueless in that field, so I wouldn't be able to give you a
Yeah,
coherent
sounds
reply.
like you're just making that up, which is fine. That happens a lot.
I think I've read it somewhere.
But be real for a second, right? So what if it is like quantum logic or fuzzy logic or something at the fundamental state, right?
Mhm.
That would be a defeater to your position, wouldn't it?
Well, depends what kind of logic it is. Like, how do we flesh it out?
I don't have those answers right now. They're still trying to figure it out, right? I'm just saying,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be a defeater to the position?
Well, again, you yourself said they are still trying to figure it out, so I wouldn't be able to tell if it would be a if it would be a defeater or not. Maybe it affirms my position. Who knows?
So why is a dog a dog?
The law of identity.
So why is the dog in real life that is in front of you a dog in real life, the actual physical dog, not just the linguistical dog, the symbol that we're talking about?
Yeah.
So why is
Well-
that also a dog because of the law of identity?
I mean, it can, if it is a dog, it cannot be anything else other than a dog. So it being a dog is pretty brute.
So is that though because of the laws of logic?
Well, about that again, I think both positions are unfalsifiable. It is either,
Or
like,
do you think it could be possible that it's the laws of thermodynamics and holy shit, I don't know what type of currency that is, but thank you so much, Rost, man. He said it worked this time. Give me a call up when you have an atheist gap. I have no idea what that means. But thank you so much for the super chat. You can come up here. You mean like call you out if there's an atheist gap? You can come up whenever you want. We're just chilling tonight. It's an open panel, dude. Some people might get turned into disembodied minds, but that's okay. What was the question again? I'm sorry, I got the super chat and I had to thank him.
no, I mean, money is more important anyways. So, what I was saying, dog being the thing it is, dog being a dog, is a pretty much brute fact.
So that's what I was getting at. So the dog in reality is a dog because of the laws of thermodynamics, and then into like zooming into Earth. And there's like other laws of physics and whatnot, but zooming into Earth, it's and chemistry obviously, but zooming into Earth, you get to like biochemistry and all these different physical processes that are occurring. I mean, it's just systems upon systems, right? And that's why that dog is a dog, and it has cells that are constantly being replaced, right? The law of identity would mean that it has to be itself, right? That's like the ship of Theseus, right? The cells are constantly being replaced. That would mean that the law of identity couldn't apply because, I mean, maybe depending on your idea of the ship of Theseus, right? With identity over time. But that's not, none of that is actually the law of identity. It's just physical stuff and physical processes, right?
What prevents it from just being like an elaborate law of identity with identity over time fleshed out? I'm not sure I understand. What is really the issue with the law of identity causing the dog to be a dog?
Because because the laws of logic are for language, but beyond that, it's physical processes doing that stuff. I'm telling you what's actually doing it. I'm not saying that this is like a plausible alternative.
Would you say that the physical laws are? Would you say that physical laws and laws of logic kind of work together? Physics are logical.
I don't know how. I mean, they probably use. I don't know. What I was saying is that the laws of logic specifically are for it's for a system, right? It's prescriptive laws that were created for a system of proper reasoning, classical logic specifically. Have you heard of S5 modal logic or any other logical system? Fuzzy logic, quantum logic, anything?
I vaguely heard of fuzzy logic, but no, I don't know.
So there's a bunch. All I'm getting at is there's a bunch of different logical systems.
Right.
Classic logic was created in like 500 or so BC. It's just a system for proper thought.
But the system and the laws are derived from reality.
Let me explain this a little bit. Well, right. It's how we describe, like I explained with the dog, why that dog is a dog.
Yeah.
But in the context of language, I guess it's not how we describe that. That's wrong. It has nothing to do with that. So it's more linguistic. So it's like in this statement, the cat is on the mat. The cat is each word has the identity, right? But a thing has to be itself, right? So the cat has to be itself. It can't fail to be itself, because if it couldn't fail to be itself, because it was like a dog and not a cat, but you wrote cat, then you're not going to be able to reason around that properly, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because if you write the cat is on the mat, but it's a cat on the mat, but by cat you meant dog, that's going to be false.
Well, you would just be like playing with language at this point.
No, you wouldn't. I'm explaining the law of identity.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. I understand. Yeah, you would be breaking the law of identity.
Well, it wouldn't be breaking it. It's without the law of identity, a thing could be itself.
Right.
Or it could possibly not be itself. I mean, I'm sorry.
I lost where we were going with this.
Oh, I just went there. We went through consciousness, Big Bang. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to the necessary being, right? I mean, the fact that your necessary being is redundant should convince you. And it seemed like you accepted what I was saying there, but you pulled me back into the. So we had got. That's why I asked for some agreements, right? Because we had gotten out of the universe and into metaphysics, right?
Right.
But you pulled me back into the universe. I mean, what are you thinking at this point? Because I feel like I've addressed any questions you've had and provided a sufficient necessary being to at least show you that your God doesn't exist or your position is false at the bare minimum.
I mean, you could posit the theory of quantum field, and it is logically sound and coherent. But as we established at the very beginning, just because something is sound does not mean it's necessarily true. That is the first thing I would outline. And then I don't think you really fleshed out.
Sound applies to deductive arguments, so you can be certain about a deductive argument's conclusion.
Would it necessitate truth?
That's a point. I mean, obviously, we live in a fallibilistic world, but at least within the context of the discussion, accounting for this being a fallibilistic world, you can be certain of a deductive argument's conclusion if it's sound.
Right, and then I don't think you really fleshed out how God being the necessary being and having a mind is faulty. I don't think I understood that.
It could be
point.
otherwise. Remember earlier when you said it could be an unconscious substance that did it?
If I said that, I probably misspoke. I wouldn't say that unconscious substance could do it. Again, I don't believe that. It may be logically sound, but I don't think that is true.
Well, if it's logically sound, then it's true, right?
Not necessarily. You can have faulty premise.
Well, then that wouldn't be sound.
Well, I mean, can you have a logically fully coherent argument, but it does not reflect objective reality because one of your premises is incorrect, like factually?
Well, it wouldn't be sound if that was the case. Sound means it's truth preserving and the premises are true, so you can trust the conclusion.
Yeah, I might be messing up the word. What is the word for a logical conclusion that is like coherent but does not reflect
valid?
Reality? Yeah, then I probably meant valid.
I mean, it's sound. The quantum physics points to a fundamental state. We have quantum fluctuations. They're random changes of energy in space. We see them quite regularly. We've observed them in the lab.
Mm-hmm.
All that has to happen is think about it like this. Let me explain this in a way that makes sense.
Okay.
So there's the essence. The essence imagine the essence is water, right? It's an ocean, right? And there's random waves that pop up, right? But there's no time. there's necessarily going to be enough waves at the same time to cause like an explosion in the same spot.
I'm not tracking at all.
If they happen randomly and there's no time, there's going to be enough random changes of energy to push it over.
But how would a physical process happen if there is no time?
It would happen all at once.
Again, happen. Something
By necessity, it would have to be that way.
Something coming into being implies change. It implies
There's
time.
nothing coming into being. It's all the same stuff.
Well, you're saying that it happens.
Well, yeah, the random changes of energy.
Yeah. So if there is no time, how can they happen? Would you like to posit that they're eternal?
Well, it's just like the second they happen, it's Big Bang. Not even, I can't even say second there.
Yeah.
When it happens, it's Big Bang. And it would happen
when
probably,
that happens.
There's no time. You can't ask when. Even saying when that happens is wrong, right? It just happens.
Yeah, but again, happens is implying that it was not before.
What would you call, like before space-time is incoherent, because space-time, when you're talking about it, and say before, we're talking about that, but I'm talking about the metaphysical grounding. It has quantum fluctuations, which would because there's no time, would necessarily all have to happen at once, and then instantly it's Big Bang.
So you have this quantum field that in which nothing changes because, well, there's no time, so there's no change. And then there's an explosion.
Well, it's a rapid expansion of this stuff, right?
Right, rapid expansion. And this rapid expansion happens to generate the universe alongside with that time and space.
Well, all that's happening is this stuff is releasing and cooling as it expands.
Would you say that this stuff has like a tendency to form into objects, not just, wander around?
Yeah, that's thermodynamics and physics and all that, right? That's just how the stuff works as it cools, right? It gets mass and takes on chemistry happens, right? And then it gets mass and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So now we have this timeless expansion.
Well, it's not timeless expansion. It's timeless until there's a space-time bubble.
Right. So I'm not sure how to really name this process. Not even a process, this occurrence.
It's called quantum tunneling, I believe. It's you could look into the inflaton field.
Yeah.
But it's just the inflaton field. It releases all the energy, right? It's nothing special. So the math points to it.
We have this fundamental, simple tunnel that rapidly expands, and
it releases the energy basically, and then the energy rapidly inflates from there, and it cools over time.
Right.
And then chemistry can occur.
But along with that expansion and release of energy, instantly we have, for some reason, laws of thermodynamics and things forming together into objects, and things like gravity.
Yeah, it's just how this stuff works.
I mean,
so if you want to talk about fine-tuning, this is how we know it's not fine-tuned, because all of this stuff emerges naturally just from one thing, which is super parsimonious. Whereas if you claim to God, you would have to claim like 20-something constants fine-tuned. you would be carrying so much more metaphysical baggage.
I mean, I just don't have, like, I don't mean to sound like a dickhead, but I don't have enough faith to accept that this all just happened because it did.
It's a science, dude.
Yeah, but
You're just rejecting the truth in your unrighteousness. You already know no gods exist. The self-evident truth of our shared naturalistic, atheistic reality has been revealed to all of sound mind through both natural and special revelation in an undeniable way. You just want sin and evil to exist outside of a conceptual nature so you can pretend to be a main character in an imaginary cosmic battle, good and evil, right?
so I think I see the point of contention. I am not denying any of the processes that you described. I just also see a mind behind them. I see intentionality behind them.
I explained how that's impossible through the necessary being, and you're just trying to critique my necessary being, but I'm being totally consistent with my answers. And then you said, well, I just don't believe it. I don't have enough faith, when I explained to you how your necessary being is impossible like 30 minutes ago.
Again, I don't think we really fleshed out how is mind redundant.
It's an additional thing added on. The universal quantum field already exists by its own nature. It's backed empirically. It fully explains everything that exists. It's just a fundamental state, right?
So
what you're saying is that there's another thing that explains this thing that fully explains everything that exists. You're just making a claim, and it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary, right? It's redundant.
But to say that my claim is impossible, would that not be just saying,
Well, if you're claiming a necessary being, it would be impossible because it's unnecessary. An unnecessary thing can't be a necessary being.
well, but understand that if God is actually real, then he would be a necessary being.
It wouldn't be
Nevertheless,
necessary, though. It still wouldn't be necessary. So you would have to claim like a brute fact or something.
so just because you can imagine a reality without this being that otherwise would be necessary, doesn't disprove the being.
It does. That's the point of it.
Again, I can imagine a reality without the quantum
You're talking
field.
about a possible world. No, you can't. You say that. Any world that you imagine is going to be referencing some type of physicality. Even if you act like you're imagining ghosts or spirits or something, you're still going to be imagining some type of physicality. It's going to require structure. Even your mind requires structure to operate, right? You
Yes.
have no idea what you're saying. You're just saying that. In reality, anything that you imagine will be something that requires a universal quantum field. Any possible world is just going to be a possible state of the universal quantum field.
Well, okay. Sure, granted. But even then,
Now, I do want to go to another point about fine-tuning real fast, and then you can go.
yeah, of course.
So, just so you know, every single variable, all 20-something constants, that's not just adding them to the unlikelihood of it being fine-tuned. That multiplies it to such a low likelihood that it's almost not even possible.
Explain that.
Every single component that you add on, every fine-tuning variable, is like a negative multiplier to that.
Well, on the other hand, you would
It makes it exponentially more unlikely for every constant you have to add on. Exponentially more likely or unlikely.
Wouldn't it be the opposite? Because I'm saying that no,
it doesn't make it more likely if you have to add on more constants.
I
That's
mean,
insane.
all of those fundamental like again laws of thermodynamics, laws of physics, things like forming into objects, it all makes perfect sense if, oh yeah, there's this dude that organized it, and
It's just thermodynamics and physics, dude.
Exactly, and it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make more sense when you say that, well, it just happened because it did.
No, it's the way the stuff works, right? As it cools, it's just how the stuff
Yeah,
works.
That's exactly what you're
What
saying.
makes more sense is that this all originates from one substance with no mind.
Or that it originates from not really one substance, but yeah. I mean, yeah, I would still say that in my worldview, it also
Your
originates
God
from
is
one substance.
unnecessary. I don't know what to tell you. I'm claiming a necessary being that's more parsimonious. You lose your parsimony check, you lose on it being necessary because there's already a necessary being you have to claim. Even if you claimed a root fact, you'd still have to claim this world.
Yeah,
Claiming this world requires claiming the universal quantum field. It doesn't matter what you say. Your God can't be a necessary being.
well, again, because you can imagine a validly, like, logically existing world where without God, it doesn't mean that God does not
Yeah,
exist.
it does.
I mean, no.
With a
I just-
necessary
I don't-
being, you have to say all other worldviews are impossible. You have to
No.
say that you have to say that your God or your necessary being or whatever you're claiming exists in all possible worlds. You're saying that because you generally a possible world is going to be something you can conceptualize. And you're saying you can conceptualize a possible world in that there would be unconscious substrate
Okay,
that does this through natural processes like how I described.
then a question.
You now know your God can't be a necessary being.
Then a question.
You could still claim brute fact, or you could claim an infinite regress of gods if you don't accept what I'm saying about the universe. But you now know your God cannot be a necessary being.
Then a question. Can you be ignorant of the necessary being? Is that possible?
What do you mean by that?
Can there be a necessary being that you do not know about?
Well, we know the universal quantum field is a necessary being. There's no possible world that could exist without the universal quantum field, or at least the fundamental state, right?
I understand, but again, the question is, can there be a necessary being that you do not know about?
I just said no, we know about it.
Yeah, well, again, you know about this fundamental thing, and you say this is the necessary being. The question is, can there be a necessary being prior to that that you do not know about?
If there's a more fundamental state, then it wouldn't it's the fundamental state, dude. If there's a more fundamental state, it's just the fundamental state.
It just is.
No, I said it's the fundamental state. If there's something, doesn't appear to be anything more fundamental than quantum fields. But if there is like a super micro field that's more fundamental, then it's just the fundamental state. I just call it the universal quantum field. Maybe the name will change, but it's the same thing. I've been very clear. I'm talking about the fundamental state. And right now, quantum fields appear to be the fundamental state.
Well, you yourself say they appear to be the theory of quantum field.
Yeah, that's what all the science and the math suggests.
Sure. But what I am saying is...
You're giving me whataboutisms is what you're doing. I've
No, it's
already
not about it.
demonstrated how your necessary being cannot be a necessary being.
It's not whataboutism. It's illustrating that God is pretty much...
I told you that there's no other possible world that could exist. And you keep asking me questions so that you can try to slip in God of the gaps or something. That's not the case. That's not what we see. I'm just granting that I'm fallible.
Okay. The problem is you posit God as... Again, do you posit him as logically impossible?
Yeah. The only possible world is the atheist presuppositionalist world.
And that is what I have problem with. Because we both agree that we are fallible. We both do not have universal knowledge. And
Well, if you're a fallibilist, you can't be a presupper. You have to claim that there's... Holy shit, you're a bad presupper.
I don't think I am a presupper.
Oh, Then throw away tag.
Well, I never said that I am arguing tag. I said that I don't even understand how it works in the beginning. I mean, come on.
Oh, it doesn't work. But you're still claiming a necessary being? Or were you just doing that to discuss?
Well, yeah, I am claiming a necessary being, but...
So you know your
Plus-
necessary being doesn't exist.
So again,
Or you claim a brute fact or infinite regress.
are all arguments for necessary being presup?
No. Mine's not.
Yeah. And I don't see how... I mean, I didn't really make an argument, but I don't see how I am a presupper.
No.
Nevertheless-
You just scared me for a second with something you said.
Oh, what was it?
I thought you were precept from earlier, and then you said you were fallibilist, and from my understanding, you can't be a fallibilist as a preceptor, or it'd be really, really freaking weird if you were.
I mean, yeah, I don't claim that I can be absolutely sure of anything apart from like the existence of self, but that's it. Nevertheless, you say that because I can imagine, or not even imagine, because I can compile this model that is valid of, or even sound, I will give you that, a model that is sound, where you don't need this other necessary being. I don't see how you can claim that you know that there is no other necessary being. Like, again, the answer to the question of...
I just explained how. It's the most parsimonious. Necessary beings face a parsimony check. So it's like the most simple. It has the least metaphysical baggage. All the forces and everything arise from one fundamental substrate.
Right.
It's one thing leading to everything. It's just one variable, maybe two if you want to say like its properties, right? Like the physical laws and that type of thing, right?
Right.
If you compare that to God, you have to take both of those, right?
Mhm.
And so this parsimony check is what gets you into redundancy, right? So I have two things.
Yeah.
You add on a God, you're adding on consciousness, you're adding on the ability to create, you're adding on probably a few other things. You're probably at least at like 5 variables. You lose that parsimony check and it's immediately redundant. That's what I was saying. You have to claim a brute fact or an infinite regress.
So, and tell me if I'm wrong, but isn't your argument pretty much just it's simple, therefore it's true?
No, I'm saying that as necessary beings go,
Yeah.
this argument destroys every necessary being except for itself. And even if you defeat this necessary being, just because you've conceptualized it, you've defeated your own. So even if I'm wrong, you're wrong too.
Wait, if I conceptualize God, I'm defeating myself?
Yeah, because you've already conceptualized it. You know your position is false.
How is conceptualizing God self-defeating?
No, what I'm saying is you conceptualized a possible world in which my possible world is the case.
Sure.
So you know your God doesn't exist. Or at least isn't a necessary being. Even if you defeat my necessary being, it doesn't matter. Yours has already been defeated.
Again,
You still couldn't claim a necessary being because you would still understand that the universal quantum field is the only possible necessary being.
Again,
and if
first
the
of all,
science pointed to something more fundamental,
Yeah.
then the only way the philosophy could change was if something like that happened. But that doesn't appear to be the case. And it wouldn't matter because I claim the fundamental state. I just call it the universal quantum field and explain it to my best understanding, right?
Right. So again, what I'm saying is happening is my God, my conception, my concept of God is only unnecessary if we grant your worldview where he is unnecessary as true. So we have to presume you are correct to say that I'm wrong, and that doesn't really get us anywhere.
No, you granted a possible world. So we know your God is not a necessary being.
I mean, I grant it. That doesn't mean I believe in it.
Doesn't matter.
So, well, I mean, you pretty much restated what I said. If we grant this possible world, then he is unnecessary. And I would agree with that.
Yeah, so your God can't be a necessary being. Welcome to atheism, brother.
But
Good to
again,
have you.
that would not lead us to the truth of reality. And yeah, I feel like this is not really going anywhere.
You just figured out your God can't be a necessary being, and it does lead us to the truth of reality. That's what I've been trying to point to you.
Well, you understand that he is only unnecessary if we grant you as correct.
No, you don't even have to grant me. You conceptualized it already. Your
Yeah, but
position is false.
me imagining something doesn't mean that it is true.
It does for this.
I disagree.
You granted a possible world.
Sure. I mean, again, I can just go brute, and that would also be a possible world.
Necessary means that it has to exist in all possible worlds. You granted a possible world and that it does not exist. By grant, I mean you conceptualized it.
I mean, yeah. But again, to say that this being is unnecessary and therefore... Okay, I think I see your point. That because I can conceptualize a world where this being isn't necessary, therefore it doesn't exist.
Correct. Now, if you really wanted to stay a Christian or something, you could claim brute fact or infinite regress of gods, but those are much weaker positions. Welcome to atheism, brother. It's good to have you.
I mean, obviously, I will go around and read a bunch of stuff about it. But yeah, very interesting arguments about the redundancy in particular. And also, someone in the chat called me a guy with an accent. I don't appreciate that, but nevertheless.
To be fair, you do have an accent.
True. But, you know.
I guess I do too, though.
You don't, actually.
I'm in a different country than you. Of course I have an accent.
Yes,
I have a very different accent than you. Come on.
So, okay, I'll be a nerd for a little because I took the class. Originally, English sounded close to Southern American English. The reason Englishmen today speak the way they do is to differentiate themselves from Americans that they gained a dislike for. So your accent,
interesting.
So your accent is actually the true English.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Evan says, if he grants a possibility, he now has to present his worldview as possible. That's just logic. But let me know when you deconvert. I'd love to get that recorded.
I mean, I believe we will interact again in the chat, perhaps. But yeah, I really enjoyed the discussion, and thank you for everybody who entertained this. And yeah,
hey, I appreciate you coming up. Have a wonderful one.
You too. Thank you.
He's my brother in atheism.
Get wrecked, nerd. Got fucking dominated, dude.
Absolutely dominated.